think if you haven't gotten it figured out by now, we can't even travel without bringing music and food with us. I mean, that's what we're all about. You know, when all of us think about the very nature of travel, it's experiential at its core, isn't it? It's about touching those parts inside of us that are looking for something new, something different to experience, to expand our horizons, to experiment a little bit. Well, the great thing about New Orleans is you don't need permission for anything. It's one of the few places that you can walk around with a cocktail in your hand on the street. In fact, it's almost required by law. Having fun just comes naturally. I tell people when they come to New Orleans, it's like your molecules rearrange a little bit, because it's like that outer part of yourself sort of unzips and goes away, and the essence of what you are comes forward, because at its heart and core, we are a very sensory city. When you go to many places today, it seems like they all sort of look like each other, and some of the chain restaurants seem to be the same, and some of the hotels seem to be the same. Well, you know, it's not the case with us. When you walk out of your door in New Orleans from your hotel, there is no question where in the world you are. You can only be in one place because of the way the Spanish and French architecture looks, the smells of the food and the sounds as you walk through the city. You know, we think about New Orleans as being one large family. It's the smallest city that will ever host Pow Wow. I mean, when you think about us in the size of the places that we go to in major urban environments. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, because New Orleans is a place that's both on the cutting edge of the new, yet it has preserved some of the best of the old. And the great thing is that it's a city of French and Spanish and African and Caribbean and American heritage, all molded together in this unique blend that's very much like our cooking. You know, what's been happening over the last, well, it'll be 14 years since Pow Wow was in New Orleans. It's kind of hard to believe it's been that long. But the changes in the city are so amazing. Over the next couple of years, you're going to see a new billion-dollar airport open, designed by the famed Argentine architect Cesar Pele. Its last great project. Nearly $1 billion put into the riverfront. But in New Orleans, you have more than just your normal corporate hotels. You have some of the most amazing boutique hotels with real character and a different feel. And that's one of the nice things. When you come to New Orleans also, you're not taking cabs 45 minutes to places. You've got within a 10-minute walk virtually everything that your heart could desire in terms of food and in terms of music and events. When you think about events, we always have been, and I think are becoming even more so, the special event capital of the world, the festival capital. Every weekend, there's something new that we celebrate. And if we didn't have anything officially for that weekend, we make it up when it gets to be Thursday night. So last weekend, it happened to be the oysters. The wonderful thing about being in this city, which has seen a restaurant explosion really unparalleled. We've had over the last 7-8 years nearly 400 to 500 new restaurants opened in New Orleans, already one of the great food cities of the world, but now it's gone to another level, and not just in fine dining, and not just with the great celebrity chefs, but also New Orleans is recognized as the place where you have $5 and $6 and $7 food on earth. The po' boys, the gumbos, the jambalayas, the things that have this richness of the organic nature of New Orleans in every flavor. And I think that's why New Orleans is so appealing to so many people. It's not only a capital of fine arts, but of performing arts. You see it on the street. You see it in Jackson Square with the artists. When you walk into a restaurant, you never know what you're going to find, because yes, we were the capital of the famous old Creole cooking, and it's still there, and it's better than ever. But now we have more chefs on more platforms from more countries, and as a result, the cuisine has become even more international than ever. And as a result, I think it's this fusion that has given an added energy to New Orleans. You know, when you think about when the sun starts to go down at night in New Orleans, things do begin to change. And the number of jazz clubs, of music clubs, is at a level that we've never seen. You know, whether it's in the French Quarter, in traditional old places like Preservation Hall, where you can see how jazz was played 70, 80, 90 years ago, to the new clubs like Irvin Mayfield's Jazz Playhouse, or all the incredible clubs within 100 yards of each other in Faubourg Marigny, which is the neighborhood immediately upriver from the French Quarter. As you walk, you can't go 20 feet without hearing a different kind of music, a different performer, a different type of sax being played, a different type of jazz piano being played. So when you come to New Orleans next year, you're going to be absolutely amazed. Pow Wow is always fun. IPW is always great because of the big signature events. But you know what? We're going to make next year not only great on the signature events, an even more intimate feel. So as you're in the city and you're walking around and you're turning a corner and seeing something new visually, maybe an architectural style, or it might be a street performer or an artist, you're going to be surprised and delighted every step of the way. The point is that when you come there, we want to push your sensory limits. We want you, without having to ask permission, have fun, to explore, to do new things. So we wanted you to know from the bottom of our hearts how honored we are to welcome the world again. You know, it's really fun this next few years because not only IPW, but as we head toward 2018, that of course is the tricentennial, the 300th birthday of New Orleans as it was claimed for France originally by Bienville and Iberville. So we are, oddly enough, in the throes of celebrating. Can you imagine? And I will tell you, even we are pushing our imaginations beyond the limit. If you haven't been to New Orleans in the last few years, you're absolutely going to be astonished. It looks different. It feels different. One of the great digital media capitals now in America. I think many of you have heard that along with Hollywood, it's one of the two primary locations for filming American movies. It's fun for me where I live down right by the river just next to the French Quarter. When I go to my grocery store, it's kind of fun on a Sunday morning because you run into Denzel Washington or Scarlett Johansson or whoever happens to be in the city making movies, and it gives it such a wonderful feel. And the great thing about our tours and our tour guides is that instead of the normal tours like you have in every place you go in the world, in New Orleans you get to do things like take a voodoo tour at midnight. You can take, and let me tell you, that one's interesting. And you get to take literary tours, see where Tennessee Williams, William Faulkner, great artists, literary artists have written. And the movie tours are amazing, where you get to see where so many of these films that you're seeing all over the world, and even this CSI New Orleans television show that seems to have been picked up in every country, it's shot right around the corner from us. So on behalf of everyone in New Orleans who creates a magnificent meal, an incredible dish, everyone who performs in the street, who writes, who paints, every jazz musician that can play a horn like they can nowhere else in the world, on behalf of everyone who drives a cab or all of us who work there or check you into a hotel, we want you to know that it's an honor and privilege to be able to welcome the world over and over again to New Orleans. So thank you to Brand USA, to US Travel for the opportunity to host all of you. I said you're going to have the time of your life. I guarantee you we're going to put on a spectacular event.